Hello and welcome to Flashback, episode 25, top 10 essential PlayStation 1 games for new retro players. And as we always say on Flashback, the games you loved, the stories you forgot. I'm RGT, and as always, I am joined by the guy who had so much fun on the PS1, whose game was unlocked when he got his first DualShock, who felt a bit of a clown when he had to play his PS1 upside down. That's UCP George. How you doing, mate? You like that one?
That was... Again, it's very stalkery, but I liked it a lot. I have to admit, I was big into that. Let's get into this, because this is another one of our top 10s. No countdown music this time, though.
No, that would be long countdown music, this one. You know, to keep repeating that for an hour would get a bit monotonous, I think. But yeah,
as flashback music fades out.
Yeah. So this is our third one of these. We've done a PS2, we've done a Mega Drive, and we're now doing the PlayStation 1 or original PlayStation, however you want to say it. And we picked 5 games each we think are essential for someone who is new to collecting for the system. They might not be necessarily your picks, but there's so many games out there. These are just ones that we think from different genres, which are pretty easy to access and pretty easy to get hold of, a good price, and great to start a collection and games you can play.
I'll be honest with you, mate. My list kind of looks like I walked in with my eyes closed and just grabbed 5 random games, but I have reasons. Reasons.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think there's a lot of... there's probably most of these games... You know, listeners will know, even if I haven't got a PS1 or never played a PS1, they've probably heard of these, but it's a good reason why they've heard of them. And I think they're both, you know, sets of our 5 are definite must-haves, I think, for the PlayStation 1. But yeah, let's get into it. Do you want to start with your first choice then, George?
Yeah, I've brought show and tell. This will never come out on video because it's flashback and we're a little bit more kind of focused than that. We want to keep it audio because we like it. But holding up for RGT and nobody else is a copy of Wipeout. I think this game is an essential. I could have brought the sequels, admittedly, and feel free to dive into those as you need. But I have nostalgia for the first one. Have to admit, it came as a bolt out the blue. We've talked on Flashback and the main show before about the PlayStation's launch, the original PlayStation's launch in the UK, and how it was tied in some ways to club culture through this game, Wipeout. It's obviously got a load of dance artists from the time, Chemical Brothers, Prodigy, all that sort of good stuff. But the game itself is a futuristic racing game where you kind of tumble around these twisting tracks, collecting weapons. Admittedly, now when I play it, and even then, I feel like the learning curve is a little steep, but once you get it, it's actually really quite rewarding. Obviously, on the original PlayStation, it was all D-pad inputs, which feels a bit crazy to the modern gamer. But yeah, I thoroughly recommend this game. Psygnosis, literally smashing it out the park for PlayStation, left, right, and Chelsea during the launch years. But yeah, RGT, what's your take on it? I mean, actually... Also want to talk about the incredible design inside of it by the Japanese company that escapes me now, but they're responsible for all the iconography and the typeface and all that sort of good stuff. And I'll be honest with you, they created an icon right there, absolute icon that still can turn up and raise eyebrows today.
And I think you're right. I think Wipeout for me, when I think of that game, that was the change. That's the game I think of as the change. When the Sony PlayStation came out, and most of us, I think I can probably speak for most of us, who sort of went, Sony are making a console, what the hell? Do you know what I mean? This is another Apple Pippin. Do you know what I mean? This isn't going to go far. And then suddenly you see a nightclub and you see Wipeout playing on the screen and all these revelers at the nightclub enjoying the game. You think, oh, hang on. Yeah, this ain't Kid Chameleon, is it? This isn't a 16-bit platform. This is different.
It had a little bit more grit to it as well.
Yeah.
Especially in the way it was marketed, also with the music that it included within the game. Yeah, super impressive. Just looking through the manual now, it's super thick. It's just full of like bits about the different drivers and racers, all the different icons. Again, it's a flashback to a bygone era.
It
Sorry
is.
to pun intended, maybe.
No, no, no. You're right, and it is it was very well designed to aim at that gaming
Was it like
demographic.
Design Republic or something like
It was
that?
something like that, wasn't it? And it was aimed at this demographic that had grown up through gaming, and they were hitting them at that age. So
Correct.
hence, like you had Orbital and Prodigy and Chemical Brothers. Tell me if I got one of them wrong, but playing in the game. The game was like not like a Mario Kart, but them gamers that played Mario Kart on the SNES. Now, this is
Mm,
what you want: a futuristic racer, anti-gravity ships, blah blah blah. You know, and it was then 3D as well, and that all sort of came together, and it was that change. And I always think first game I always think of when I think of that PlayStation era that then kicked off is Wipeout. I always think of Wipeout, and I still think when you go back now, I still think it's a good game. It's obviously floaty because you've got anti-gravity ships, and it is a bit different, but we still get them sort of racing games today. I mean, they launched one with a Switch too, didn't they? Forgive me, I can't remember what it's called. You still get them sort of game,
Oh, oh, something MX, isn't it?
yeah, but none of them ever hit like it did on that PlayStation, and this. That was the first one of the first games I played on a PlayStation, and it give you that gist of where they were heading. You know,
Mm.
you'd still have some real cracking 2D games on there, but no, this is about an era, a generation, and this is who we're aiming at. And I just think it's an iconic game, and I think it's still worth playing today. I think it's yes, you got your texture warping and a bit of popping and all the rest of it, but
On a
it
CRT, I don't think it's that bad. On a modern screen blown up to massive,
oh,
it's noticeable, but do you know what? It's all part of the nostalgia, really, for me.
it is, yeah, and it is, and yes, I know people say PS1 games they look different. They struggle with them nowadays. It's not aesthetically as nice, but you got to remember at the time we didn't have or very little 3D. You know, me and George had um, F1 Grand Prix, which was about 8 frames per second if you're
Yeah,
lucky.
home computing titles did a
Sort
were
of,
making a hearty stab at it, but it was very basic vectors, wasn't it, really?
yeah, and we'd had sort of delves into it with the FX chip on Super Nintendo and bits on the
Yeah.
So coming to this where it was more polygons and everything, everyone was like, whoa, this is amazing.
Thing is,
And
there's a lot when you see the grid form of Wipeout. There's a lot of triangles in there, mate.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, definitely. But also that age group, if you were 17, 18, and you said to your mate, do you want to come around and play Mario Kart? They'd be like, no, I'm just going to go down the pub and, see if I can impress the ladies. But if you got Wipeout, you got the music blaring out, you got Orbital playing, you're racing these futuristic spaceships. Suddenly, you're thinking, "Hang on, yeah, this is actually cool." They brought game and cool again to the age group. So, yeah, Wipeout's a great first choice, George. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I guess if people are aggrieved or listening and don't have an older system, they could check out some of the later Wipeouts, which I think kind of redid the tracks. I think there was one on Vita that then was also on PS4. I can't remember, but
I've
there
got
was that
the
one on PS4 with that slipcase on
yeah, I
it that
got
paid
that one. Yeah,
homage to this.
yeah.
I think that does actually have a lot of the tracks in
Mm,
there from this. So if you're that aggrieved, they're there. But if you've got this system or thinking of collecting for this system, you need this.
yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, but great
What are
choice.
you going to bring out your Sac Magique RGT?
Sec Meji. My first one is pretty obvious. Everyone knows I love this game. But my first one is Colony Wars.
Oh, you've brought show and tell.
Yes, I have.
It's like a little private
Yeah,
experience.
we like to show each other's our games. You show me yours, and I'll show you mine.
Oh,
Um,
well.
yeah, um, yeah. Colony Wars is my first choice. Basically, I've waxed lyrical about this before on UCP. I think I've even had it as a hidden gem. Surprised me still how cheap this game is today. Colony Wars is Psygnosis. Um,
A lot of
They,
heavy lifting, mate, for the PlayStation.
yeah, they were the hallmark. And this game, 1997, um, is a space combat simulation game. Even now, I think this game is so playable. I said I'm a hidden gem. I know it's space. It's a black screen with stars in, but it's more than that. It gives you the feeling you're in a spaceship, the way the numerous space missions are laid out. And also, it was one of the first games where you had so many different alternate endings depending on your choices and how you done missions previously, which baffled me. I think there's like 9 endings on the game, which I thought was amazing. But if you like that sort of space mission, shoot and sort of dogfighting game, this is really good. I wouldn't say it hold your hand. It could be tricky at times. Um, but it was another one of them games, a bit like Wipeout, to show you can do this on this system. You can have a 3D
Mm.
space shooter, you can dogfight, you can have a story to it. There's multiple endings. It's almost like an RPG sort of space shooter. And it's just really good. You obviously had the follow ups.
Always blurs in my mind with G Police, which is obviously different game, but kind of
Yeah.
similar premise of control suite.
Yeah. I mean, and like I say, they done two more. They done 1998, they done Colony Wars Vengeance. And
Mm.
then in 2000, they done Red Sun. And each game gets slowly better as you go through, I think. But it is just,
Graphically as well.
yeah, definitely. I mean, Psygnosis knew how to, get the best out of this machine, and early on as well. I
Oh,
knew
definitely.
they
Yeah.
they knew what they were dealing
I
with.
think that's probably one of the things with the PS1. It majoritively looked good straight out the gates, and I use like Porsche Challenge as an example. That was early release, but do you know what? It didn't really get much better because it was immediately maximized.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and it was it was just a game that I just think I never thought I would play a game like that. I've always liked space games, but I never thought I'd be playing a game like that. And that's when you suddenly see that leap from the 16-bit. Yes, you did have things like Starflight on the Mega Drive and bits and pieces like that, but they weren't as in depth as this, where you're flying this sort of space opera. Absolutely brilliant.
Because didn't you come to the PS1 after a point in time? Weren't you have
I
time off
weren't there day
gaming,
one. Yeah, I weren't there day
broke your
one.
foot or something, and then was it PS1 then? Was that
Yes,
PS1?
I had an operation, and my then girlfriend bought me a PS1 with Gran Turismo and Cool Borders as a pack in, and just to play while I was off. And bang, that was I
How
was.
long after that before Colony Wars? Well, I don't
Ooh,
know what I just said. Colonoscopy wars. How long before that made it into your life?
oh, cool. I got to search a grey matter for that. I'd gone through quite a few games, and I came across Colony Wars in. I would imagine that would have been Electronics Boutique.
Mm.
I was flicking through, and I remember this case, and I just saw Col on the front and Colony Wars, and I thought, what is that? Looked at the back and saw this spaceship and thought, oh, I want a bit of that. Played it and found it really hard, put it down for a while, come back, played again, and just it was a game I just kept delving back into. And even a couple of years ago, I played it again when I still had my game shed. I sat down and played it one Sunday afternoon there, and I just thought, this is one of them that hasn't really aged that much. Yes, like I say, you are in space, so you ain't got to have too much going on screen, which really benefits it. But it does the sounds, and when you're shooting, you do really feel like you're in this spaceship, you know, shooting your way around. And it's an easy on the eye to go back to, rather than some of the games like Driver, for instance. You sort of go back to, and you sort of think, oh, great game, but it's a bit tough on the eye. But the reception was good for it. I mean, it's got a 91 out of 100 on Metacritic.
Mm.
Um, I think apart from Edge magazine, it give it a 6 out of 10. I think EGM give it 9.25. That's very accurate. Out of 10. GameSpot 7.2 out of 10. IGN was 9.3 out of 10. And Next Generation was 5 out of 5. So it was a highly rated game, still is. But I'd definitely recommend it. That's Colony Wars is my first choice.
I don't
Um,
think I've got much to add to that. You've literally waxed lyrical. I don't, you've
Well, I was just about to say, do you have much experience with it? Did you play it in the
Not
day?
really. I didn't play it in the day. I think I've got it now, and I've had a quick chuck around with it. Like I say, I think I picked it up similar time to G Police, which is why it kind of logs in my memory as a similar game. Um, I never really took to it, to be honest with you, but I can quite imagine there's a game in there that I'd enjoy. I played similar
Yeah.
games for many, many hours, so
Well, if I think you would, but also for some reason, modern sort of space games of similar ilk don't really do it for me. As this generation of these space games, I don't know why. Whether it's because these new ones are gone a bit too far, there's too much to do, there's too much to think about. Whereas these, you're in your ship and you follow the story and you do your missions and you keep trying till you get a mission complete. Whether it's because it's a bit more basic tech wise, I don't know, but I love them of this era, which we'll find out a bit later on as to why. But yeah, I would highly recommend it if you want a really good sort of space shooter game with story involved. Then check out Colony Wars. What's your second choice then, George?
welcome to the party, pal. This is Die Hard Trilogy, a game I picked
Mm.
up early in the PlayStation's life as soon as it came out. I was a rabid Die Hard fan. I was a young man earning my own money. I had VHS's shop bought because I was that kind of character. And as soon as this was announced in magazines, I was all over it like a rash. Now, I remember getting this, absolutely loving it. Obviously, in the first, it's three games for the price of one. Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance are on here, and they represent three very distinct gaming styles. The first one sees you in a 3D action shooter making your way up the Nakatomi Plaza. It's very arcadey. It's incredibly fun. It's got like a John McClane, Bruce Willis sound alike, so it's not actually him, but you know, mileage may vary. It's got a banging techno soundtrack, and the replication of like the office buildings, interiors with the wood and the glass, and there's something about it even to this day with the carpets and things and the way they are in the lift in the levels with the offices and the car park and all that sort of stuff. It just feels just as good as it could be on PS1, and it has this kind of magic aura about it. For me, anyway, I know it's going to be hard for me to distill nostalgia from me talking about this game, so I'm not even going to try. The second game, Die Hard 2, it'll rock your mind, that will, because that's a full blown, in my mind, still to this day, one of the best on rail light gun games you'll ever find, pound for pound, on any system. You start off outside Dulles Airport, you go inside, you're shooting outside, you're shooting inside. Yes, you can use a controller, and I know that it's a shame nowadays that modern TVs don't work in the way that allow a light gun to work. But if you can get a CRT in this game, you will be very, very happy. Grab a light gun, doesn't matter what it is, okay? Even if it's something predatory, it doesn't matter what it's called. You will rip through this. If you can find two of them with a mate and you can rip through that, you will be having the time of your life. The nostalgia section here is I've talked about him on the main show, and I'm sure I've mentioned him on Flashback. I had a good friend at the time, Terry Blow. I still think of him very dearly. And he would come round and we would play this. We'd get some Bière d'Ors, those little stubby beers that are about 2%. There's a guy at
When
my
your dad had
work.
done a French trip.
Yeah, well, there's a guy at work who we used to deliver truck parts, and he would come back from some of the international truckers with like he bought a load of beer Dior's off of them, some backy and whatnot, and then he'd come back to the depot and start hawking it round. And obviously, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have a couple of crates of beer Dior. I think they're like £7.50 each. So if you got a couple, it's 15 quid. You might as well be drinking tap water, if I'm honest, even if you were 17, 16, whatever age I was. Um, but the light gun game, immense amount of fun. The one that kind of blew me away, and again, it's your perception at the time. Now I know it's a lot more limited than I probably imagined it was. But when I was playing Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third game, Die Hard with a Trilogy, it really did feel like they'd rendered New York. There were times where you drove through Chinatown and had the little lanterns. There were times where you'd like turn up another section, there'd be like a part that looked like the thing from Die Hard with a Vengeance, and it was basically a rip around town where you would like chase to a bomb in a bin or something like that you had to hit with your car before the timer went down. Now, you were hammering around these streets in like a first person view from memory. And even if you hit like a person, your wiper would go off and it would wipe blood off the screen. bit gross, and it was very cartoony, to be honest with you. But yeah, this game for me, RGT, literally blew my mind. It was one of the first games that, well, we talked about Wipeout and all that sort of good stuff, but this was one of those sort of follow-up launch era games that really blew my mind about what the PlayStation could do and the fun that we had with this. Even to this day, I probably don't hold. I probably at the time didn't value the PlayStation nostalgia as much as I should have done, but now when I kind of look at this and I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, we had some of the best gaming times with that. Um, so, these aren't equivocally the best games at all for PlayStation, but we think these are games that we've had fun with, that we think you will, that really are going to give you bang for buck gameplay wise in your collection. RGT, I think, holding back the tears, holding back the years. What's your thoughts on Die Hard Trilogy?
I totally agree with you. I think it's three games in one. I think it's brilliant. They didn't need to do that on there,
No.
but they but they did. And you are correct with the shooter side. Is it Die Hard 2, the shooter, arcade shooter? It's very good. If you like your Time Crisis and things like that, this is definitely up there.
Well, I'll be
It's
honest with you, mate. This was really proto anything. This might have even been the first light gun game on the
Yeah,
console. And,
but also with
what a
Die Hard.
segue. I
Yeah, so
know.
you're playing Die Hard. It's very good. If you want to see, especially see more, I'd recommend watching. If you follow Cadigarus Caddy, he done an amazing video on Die Hard Trilogy.
Does he
Go
like
watch
it?
it. Yeah, he loves it. But
Good lad. Good
he
lad, Caddy.
with his humor as well, because it was yippee ki but they couldn't say the swear words on it, and he kept saying it on there. He had his little stepdaughter who quickly turned round and went yippee ki Muddy Philip, and it just killed me. Muddy Philip is stuck in our household now. We always say it. But yeah, it is such a good game. Like I say, three games in one. Um, and I just think you can get this on the Saturn as well.
Yeah, it is there.
It is there on the Saturn. But yeah, it is a great game, and I'd recommend it for people who aren't even sort of PS1 collectors. But if you're thinking of getting into it and you're a die-hard fan, definitely pick this up, because I think you've
Avoid
got.
the sequel like a plague, though. Die Hard Trilogy 2, ignore it.
Yeah, and there is one called Die Hard Arcade, but that is quite expensive. So I think
Yeah,
that might
that's on
even
Saturn.
that's Saturn only. So yeah, but Die
Is it
Hard
expensive?
Die Hard Arcade was getting sort of big figures a little while ago. So
Oh.
yeah, for some reason I don't know what it is nowadays, but I might be wrong. But yeah, no, that's a great choice. Just for literally the amount of gameplay you get in that game. Um, right, shall I move on to my second choice here, George?
I would love to hear it.
And I've already moaned about the graphics of this game, but my
I was
second
going to
game.
say, when you were talking about Colony Wars, you stitched yourself
Well,
up a bit.
well, this one isn't necessarily for the graphics alone. This was just a completely new genre for me, and that game is Driver. The reason I picked this is we had a lot of fun with this game, and even just the slogan, "You are the wheelman." Straight away, I thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of this. I think it was even called "You Are the Wheelman" in North America, wasn't it, instead of Driver? I can't remember,
Oh, I
but
don't know, actually.
yeah, I'm not
There was
sure.
another game called Wheelman that was done by.
That was a Vin Diesel, wasn't
Yeah, so I don't know. I
it?
think Driver's Driver fella.
Yeah. But yeah, so this game is this was done by Reflections Interactive, published by GT Interactive. This was out in 1999 on PlayStation, June. And it was just inspired by movie car chasers. You had four real life cities with Miami, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York, with a variety of vehicles. And the plot was pretty much just you were John Tanner, undercover police officer, and you sort of undercover, no, you sort of more infiltrate a criminal outfit. And you just go around, that's all car based, to go around and investigate the operations. It gets a bit deep, because I think their plot was to like assassinate the president of the United States or something like that. But
Oh,
anyway,
wow. I never got that deep into it. So,
yeah, but it's got the notorious tutorial at the start. If you haven't seen this, you have to literally pass a test at the start in an underground garage. So you have to do like a 180, a 360, a burnout. You have to do a lap around there. You get any of that wrong, that resets. You have to do the whole lot in one go. Now, it is tricky. We spent hours doing this. I spoke about this before, spent hours doing this,
You
but
ready for the game after that, though?
you are, because you need to do a lot of that when you're,
You
because
do.
some of the levels are brutal. You get swamped by police. I mean, I put this on a few years ago. Yes, like I've already said, the graphics are a challenge. They're the city
I
is
will. I'm going to chuck myself out there on a limb now and say at the time they were pretty good.
they were good. We loved it at the time because we were in an open world ish, but mission based, but open world ish car racing game. Being chased by cops and bits and pieces, and I'd never played anything like this, not at all. You know, you'd gone from, again, I'm referring to Mario Kart, but you'd gone from them similar street racer games to this was like, whoa, this is incredible. Yes, we'd played Destruction Derby and things, but this was a story. This was like an
Mm.
American cop drama. And we loved it. And even though some of the missions were brutal, we didn't complain. We just kept replaying them till we could get that mission done. Yeah, I got it done. Right, let's get on the next one. Taking turns with a controller, have a few beers. So many good memories with this game. Um, and it's just, it was that bit of an era where it wasn't necessarily licensed games, but they were based on sort of movies. They were based on cop dramas. And just a really good fun game. And even now when you play, it is blocky, like I've said, but even then, the car still plays pretty well. It handles like you'd think sort of a V8 rear wheel drive muscle car would handle. Um, yeah, I can't recommend it enough, really. They went on and done Driver 2 and then went on to Driver 3 and bits and pieces. We all know a bit of the downfall of Driver. But for the original, if you're picking up the PlayStation, I'll definitely check out Driver. What about you? Did you have this back in the day, George?
I didn't have it. My PlayStation 1 lineage was I had one around launch for 2 or 3 years, sold it for beer money. I know, I was young. It was going abroad beer money, to be fair. And I don't need a games console. I'm a man now.
Then come back and bought one.
Yeah, well, when I ended up going in the Navy, I bought one with a screen on it, and Drive was one of the games I picked up. And yeah, you're right. Once you get out that bloody garage, it's an American cop drama, and it plays like quite a mature kind of storyline. It feels um, it, in to hark to your statement, it felt more mature in its storytelling to anything else that we'd kind of really experienced before. These characters felt solid and
Mm,
legit.
mm,
Um, and the city felt real, albeit kind of one block at a time.
mm.
And the
Even
cars
that,
looked
you were driving
authentic.
around the city,
Yeah,
and that was
exactly.
just, it was just madness, for us. We were just like, this is incredible,
Yeah, and the
you know.
cars and the graphics of the cop cars and the civilian vehicles, it looked really legit. That's what I was saying to RGT, hang on a minute at the time. This now you load it up and you're like, oh goodness. But at the time, your mind fills a lot of the blanks in and it looked like a photorealistic city driving game.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. And that was the first time I'd sort of seen almost like a sat nav in a game to show you where to go on your map and how the arrow would move where the car is. That was all new to me, and
Yes.
I absolutely loved it.
Like
And it was,
navigating the 3D space with a car, they did that.
yeah, I mean, it is quite funny now if you actually blow the map out, like if you look on YouTube or look on you blow the map out, it is quite a small space, and there's a very little gridded city, but they put four cities in, different areas to do your missions. And I think if you want a bit of nostalgia and you like having your game nights, get your friends round. Yes, it's a single player game, but do what we used to do: taking turns on missions, get yourself a couple of drinks, and have a good retro game night. A lot of these games are really good for that. Just pl
100%.
Yeah, just enjoy them for what they are and think of them back in the time. And yeah, Driver's definitely one of those. Better get on to your third choice then, haven't we, young Georgie boy?
Yeah. It's a game that I had in my second PlayStation 1 era, but it's a game that by no means should not be excluded from anyone's list. It's Gran Turismo 2.
Hmm.
Obviously, the first game goes without saying, laid the foundation for this one to stand on. But as a PlayStation 1 driving experience, you will never find anything better than this. The
Mm.
tuning aspects, the ownership aspects, the broadness of the courses, the broadness of the racing types. This game was fantastic. Licensed cars, fully tunable. It uses the analog sticks. I've got the copy where if you open it up inside and scratch the blue disc, the main game, and I shall do it on air. Even to this day, you get like a smell of petrol and rubber. And I tell you what a great thing to include in a game. They had no need to at all. But this game is really the start of it all for Polyphony Digital. Gran Turismo 1, you could say, was the start, but I think Gran Turismo 2 picked up everything that that first game accomplished and smashed it into just a different realm.
Mm.
Set itself up for obviously subsequent sequels, set themselves up as really the grand masters of the car simulator in terms of console. It wasn't until, Forza came along, Sega GT had a stab, but didn't really make a dent. Gran Turismo's still standing here all these years later for a reason, because it does the simulation driving like nothing else. But, you know, if you're a little bit casual, a bit pushed for time, there's an arcade disc in there where everything's just ramped down a little bit so you can just have some fun. But the meat and veg for me is on that second disc where you go through the career. Obviously, Gran Turismo's done the career a million times better since, but this is the proto-genesis and it's got everything in there you could possibly ever want. You write the stories in your own head for the cars that you own. You write your own head stories in your head for the races that you win or lose. It's an absolutely fantastic game. And again, haking back to what RGT said, there was a particular time where I was holed up in a certain place and me and a lad would come in after a hard day's work and sit down and just play the wheels off Gran Turismo 2 just to chillax. And I'll be honest with you, we had a great time.
Mm. Absolutely
RGT,
superb.
no doubt you've had some very deep entertainment from Gran Turismo too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I first got my PlayStation, for my ex-girlfriend, I had Gran Turismo with that. Again, I know I keep saying this, I'd never played anything like that. The graphics, even now, the graphics on those games for that system are phenomenal.
100%. Yeah,
And the car handling. And then once, I didn't even know what this game was all about when I first got at Gran Turismo and then moved on to Gran Turismo 2. But the the that's the first thing I'd ever had of upgrading cars, go and putting a turbo on and really changing the whole characteristic, hearing the noise of the car change of what you've done, or the exhaust, or the lowering, and the suspension, and even having to grind a bit, going back to the Sunday Cup and doing it 10 times to get your
yeah.
money.
You
But
didn't mind though.
no, I did not mind because I was thinking, oh, how much is that supercharger? Oh, it's 10 grand. Right, let's go and do the Sunday Cup 10 times and just blitzing everyone before they'd even finished, their first lap, and then getting the money. Right, done it, and then every time I'd think, right, do brakes and suspension first. But no, you didn't. You went and whacked a turbo on and just spent most of the time going sideways around the track because
Setting your brakes on fire.
And I mean, I think it was, I don't know if it was two or one. I can't remember why I done the in game. They done the 24-hour race, but it was like endurance race, but it was like 4 hours if you done it in your own time. And I done it, and I'd play for half an hour at a time, doing laps, pause, have a break, cup of tea, come back. Would I do that nowadays in a game? I don't think I would in a driving game. I think that's how much that game, how powerful that game was at the time.
Yeah,
Um, just for being, and also being called a driving simulator. I hadn't really experienced driving sims, never really heard of them. But not only is it a driving sim, it's a driving sim where you build your car.
that's
You
correct.
build your cars, you have your garage. So it's the best of both worlds. Then you have the
And
tracks.
even though it's in the screen, I've talked about this in car games before. You have a feeling of ownership about it though.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
It
you do.
feels like it is yours, explicitly yours, nobody else's.
Mm. Yeah.
And
And I,
that is the magic of Gran Turismo.
Yeah, and I remember talking to a bloke at work at the time. I was working in a different area, and He had Gran Turismo too, and we had the same car. I can't for the life of me remember what it was. I don't know if it was a Supra or a Skyline. He's like, "Oh, how you built yours?" And we talk about it, and we built them completely different.
Mm,
And I was like, so he's like, oh, so you use yours like this with the power for that? And I'd say, yeah, yeah. Oh, I've gone right for the suspension for the hand. And we were talking to each other and getting different, ideas for the cars. And I thought, this is unbelievable.
yeah.
This really is unbelievable. And a huge game for the day as well.
Oh,
Massive,
absolutely.
massive game. Um, and even if you look back now, yes, I know people can look back now and go, oh, yeah, it's not that good. You got to remember the system that was running on. The cars, they
Stick
tried to
that
put
on a
reflections on.
CRT.
It is brilliant. It
Yeah,
is. And every game, therefore, on has always been a bit of an industry standard for this is how you can make a car game. This is how a car game can look. Every
100%.
generation they've done the PS2, PS3, um, PS4 Sports, even so it's a bit of a half one, and right up to seven. The graphics
Well,
always look
seven's on
brilliant.
PS4 and 5 as well, so
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, they've always been a bit of a leader when it comes to how
they
cars
are the
look.
hallmark. And these first two games, especially this second one, were the ones that just set them up as the industry standard for, as you say, how a car game should be.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think they're an absolute. If out of all these we're saying these are must owns to start with, that is one of the best must owns out of all of them. I think especially if you're a car person, get Gran
How
Turismo
much
2.
is Gran Turismo 2 now?
What I'll do is I've compiled a bit of a list. I'll go through the prices at the end.
Oh, you have? Yes, good, because
Yes,
that's one of my favorite bits.
yeah. So I've compiled a bit of a list at
Hopefully,
the
I
end.
haven't blown it completely out the gates.
No, no, no.
Good.
You're all right.
What's your third game then, good sir?
My third game is a game I've come more round to it later on. It was never a game I played back in the day, but since being collecting, got into the remake and then loved this Final Fantasy VII. Um,
Mm.
I've picked this because I think this one really sings to me with the story. Um, I think for the year that this was out, I'd never had anything so in depth. You know, as with Gran Turismo 2, like we said, they really went with um, the in depth of the cars, what you can do, the way you change it, build your own car. This was in depth within the story, the characters, what was going on. Um, had real strong emotions in it. Such a good game. Again, huge game for the system with the multiple discs, and I just think it sticks because I think now if you even say to modern gamers who not necessarily played this, if you say, "Do you know who Cloud Strife is?" They know. Do you know who
Hmm.
Barrett is? They know. Do you know who Tifa is? They know what game that come from. Yes, there's Final Fantasies, and everyone has a favorite Final Fantasy with different characters from different worlds. They don't necessarily follow on; they're all separate standalone games. But seven for me, and even if you're listening to this and you're not really into PS1, you can get the remake. The remake is fantastic, brought up to modern standard with more sort of hybrid controls, fighting controls. Bit, um,
For me, this OG, the Chilby art style, the massiveness of it, the crudity of it, uh, it is right. And Final Fantasy VII marked sort of Squaresoft saying, no, we can't do cartridges anymore.
yeah,
This was a big move. This was them saying, no, no, we're going to go with PlayStation.
yeah,
As RGT said at the top of the show, who knew this was going to be anything other than Apple Pippin?
yeah.
This is a bold move that signified that PlayStation had something going on, and it had the hallmark and chops to carry off probably at the time one of the largest franchises in gaming and becoming its home for quite a long time after this.
Yeah, and I remember the director saying that there'd always been Nintendo. You had your Final Fantasies on the Nintendo Entertainment System up to the Super Nintendo. But this is that jump because he'd writ this story, he'd writ this game. It was so massive, and he was like, "I'm not getting it on an N64 cartridge. It's going to struggle with discs, but we can put multiple discs in. I can make the game I've been wanting to for ages." And that's the reason he jumped over to a completely unknown format, pretty much, to develop this for years for a system that is brand new and with no sort of gamers in the ecosystem as such. It was a massive move and one that's just stuck for a lot of years now. And it is brilliant. If you like turn-based games, then you'll be all over this. Not to say if you don't play the modern remake, but it is just an emotional story. It's got a bit of a whiff of a look at the modern world that we live in, with
Mm.
the corporates, and they even do it in a artistic style. So the people in the slums, they're actually called the slums, is where you live, and the people in the up above world are the people that are doing well, and they work for Shinra, and the people who are trodden down on you. It's got that real sort of message about the real world. And they brought emotion into a game. They brought letting you learn the characters and having your favorite character and how their individual stories and where they come from, whether Cloud was an ex-soldier and Barrett was in this almost not terrorist group but rebels against Shinra,
Rebels, yeah.
yeah. And it was just this, they were foreseen as terrorists, but
Yeah,
and
that's right. But,
it's really in depth. And even that first bit where you see the city and the camera pans in and just that sort of movie aesthetic, great game. I'll definitely get it and just play it just for the story alone. It's great. What's your history of this, George? Or yours is probably more other Final Fantasies in it than seven, but
yeah, I get a kick out of a lot of the other ones, to be fair. Seven, I had the in my second PlayStation 1 incarnation. Um, hey, do you know what? It's a fun game. I think I was more pulled towards the more graphical fidelity of nine at the time because I went and picked them all up and immediately slapped in the best looking one. But no, seven's a great game, multiple
mm,
disc experience. It really has set the stall out and become the fan favorite. Dare I say, even to this day, I think seven probably eclipses six, even though I think six is, historically is the more favored title by the old school cartridge based gamers. Um, Seven, like, really marked as I said at the start, it marked a real division from the sprites into a polygon thing. Now, that's probably not aged as well as they thought it might do. But to be honest with you, there's something about that Chilby art style on the PlayStation 1
yeah.
that's
And then
got something
pre-rendered
about it.
backgrounds. It has got its own art style,
And
totally.
and that game in itself, they never revisited that style again because its follow-up and the subsequent ones looked completely different.
Mm.
So yeah, there's a lot to be said for Seven. It's uniquely charming. It's kind of Nintendo 64 competitor stroke stablemate at the time was Ocarina of Time. We've talked before how either you were in one camp or the other. At time of launch, I was on the N64 camp, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate what basically a storytelling masterpiece Final Fantasy VII is.
Mm. Yeah, it really is. It's in, like I say, it's one of the first games you really get in depth about the characters and their different lives and different positions where they come from. And yeah, it's a great game, great story, one of the best stories in games. Reception wise, it was, it had all game would give it 5 out of 5. I mean, it had a PC port as well. Computer and video games 5 out of 5. Edge 9 out of 10. Uh,
Wow.
EGM was 9.5 out of 10. Famitsu was 38 out of 40. I can go on. Game Informer 9.75 out of 10. You know, Game Fan give it 300 plus out of 300. So I don't know how their scoring system works, but well,
Sounds like the
um,
UCP score system.
yeah, yeah. So it's there's 20 out of 20s, 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s. It's very well regarded. It's one of the best Final Fantasy games, one of the best JRPGs ever made, and I'd definitely recommend checking out Final Fantasy VII. God, choked on my own teeth then. What are you up with on your fourth choice then, George?
Holding up for RGT and nobody else. Transport Tycoon. Now, I look at my copy now and realise it's blatantly got a photocopy front cover, but I'm not going to let that wear me down too much on air. Maybe a little bit.
Oh,
Uh,
sleepless night for you, that.
I'm having an allergic
Bless
reaction
you.
to it, RGT.
Yeah,
It's made me feel that ill.
this is a man that lives originally.
I'm very disappointed in myself.
I'm
Obviously, my
disappointed in you.
eyesight's failing me. Yeah, let's not waste time on that though.
Yeah.
But Transport Tycoon for me was a game that I thoroughly enjoyed. On PC. Got it on PlayStation 1 as well because I'm that much of a nerd. I'll pretty much stand for anything that says Microprose on it. Now, me and my father spent many years playing Railroad Tycoon. Absolutely loved it. My dad loved it more than me, to be fair. He played it on Atari ST till 3 in the morning while I tried to sleep. But yeah, I guess it got his grips in him. Transport Tycoon was a follow-up where you could not just do trains, but you could do planes, automobiles, and ships. Every transport device known to man. You organise like cargo routes, passenger routes. You could do anything. You can manipulate the terrain. One thing that makes this particular version of Transport Tycoon really special, if you're into that, is that it will actually take the board and you can click a button on the PlayStation version and you can render a 3D so you can scroll around your normal isometric world and witness it. You can see your trains coming in and out. Really cool feature if you're into this. If you're going to play Transport Tycoon, maybe try and look this version out. I don't know why, but for some reason, I've seen this absolutely explode in terms of content creation all over the internet. Some guy's doing hours and hours of it. He pops on my Instagram feed. It reminded me of like what a great game it is. It's literally hours of enjoyment. One of the great parts about the game is you start off in, the early part of the 1900s or maybe even mid 1800s. And as you work through the equipment, lifelike gets much more, modern as you work through. So
Mm.
by the time you get to the 50s and 60s, you're flying the actual Boeing
Oh,
XYZs of
right.
that time and your little routes. So, it's quite cool. I think that it's quite easy to maximize Transport Tycoon with trains alone. It's still got that underlying tech of being very lent towards train haulage. But if you want to start experimenting with like multi-platform, like you could have a port which was moving stuff from the port. You could have trains and cargo depots that were moving things in and out to provide for the ships that would move it somewhere else that needed that cargo. It's very much my kind of foil RGT. It's very much like a Pro Magnum Anno,
Yeah, I was going to say Anno.
but a little bit more business. Anno had that slight sort of PvP strategy to it. This or PvE, but in this one obviously you're just up against AI in-game transport tycoons as well. And it's really great sometimes to see how the AI chooses to solve a situation. Like maybe they'll go for a plane, or maybe suddenly a road starts appearing, or the train tracks start going down. Like, right. Or suddenly it's deforming terrain and flooding an area and popping in a port. You're like, oh, look out, doggy. You can even do kind of like internal canals, like ship canals. It'll let you
Mm.
do that, and you can have locks to move the water up and down. Um, Absolutely wonderful game. I don't know how much it is. It's a bit of a wild one that I've brought out that now I'm thinking, oh, crikey, this might be expensive. But if it's not when we get to the price run through, I can totally get behind it. I think it's even, yeah, confirmed on the back. It's even PlayStation 1 mouse compatible.
Wow, that's going to be my first question I was going to say about this is this is quite brave, very, like Railway Tycoon, very PC based game. So to bring that over to a console and a controller, but I remember them being quite a lot of these sort of tycoon games on the PlayStation. They were very Sony at the time were very open to let's have any game on here, bring it in,
Well, I was going to
whatever's.
bring in another game called Constructor, which has had a modern remake, but it's where you kind of, it was a social economic kind of game in a way. You built houses, you had to have a certain amount of, a little bit anno in a way, you had to have a certain amount of council houses, a certain amount of like highbrow, like medium, you know, middle class houses, and then some sort of social elite houses, and you had to put all the stuff around it. Constructor's like a bit of a cult fan favorite for people. I think Transport Tycoon's the better game, if I'm honest. So if you're all mad for Constructor, then you probably ought to check this out. This one's a bit drier. It's not got the stupid CGI crying babies and nonsense like that, but it's still a very fun game.
I think that's really interests me. I mean, weren't really into them games back in the day. I played like theme park and things like that, theme hospital, them sort of thing.
Yeah,
But then now suddenly, the last couple of years, when you've been speaking about Railway Tycoon, I think there's a more modern game, Railway Empire, I believe, is.
Correct. Yeah,
And I kept thinking,
that's good. That is.
oh, I really fancy a bit of this. But now you've talked about this, I keep thinking I might have to pick this up for the PlayStation
Well,
One.
mate, I'll be honest with you. There is Transport Tycoon is so beloved. There is actually a version called Open TTD. I think if you Google that, there is like might be freeware as far as I'm concerned. And people have got like a base version of it running, so you could play it on your Lenovo or
Mm,
your on the show
mm,
laptop. It would
yeah,
easily work on there.
yeah.
And they've got mods and all sorts of different bits and bobs, but I think it maybe runs in a browser or you just download it, tiny, tiny file. And
Mm,
there's a whole community that supports the wider Transport Tycoon.
wow,
Obviously, I'm here waxing lyrical about this particular version. And this particular version obviously is a little bit of a skewed interest from the Transport Tycoon community because it is the only one that can render itself in 3D.
wow, that's unbelievable. I
Let me
mean,
push my nerd glasses up because I went deep there and I'm sorry, but it's all true.
no, I think yes, these are the sort of games that we know the more mainstream ones, but there's hours of great game and fun to be had in games like Tycoon.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of them that you think a lot of people would just browse past in the game shops, but now you think, oh,
It,
I might
yeah.
have to pick that up.
I wouldn't say it was the cool choice back in the day, mate. I
No,
tell you that now, but
no,
it was a fun choice.
yeah, and you say it was Microprose.
Yeah.
You
But
forget they were doing stuff on
in
PS1.
conjunction with Ocean.
Mm, yeah, I wouldn't have thought. Did they go on much longer after that making games, Microprose? I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
because they got up to Microprose Jeff Crammon's Grand Prix 3 or 4, didn't they?
Oh, yes, they did.
But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
after that they popped. But I think there's been like a Kickstarter or maybe the founders have brought it back and they're doing simulation games. I think they're working on like a B-17 Flying Fortress game.
Wow, yeah.
They've released some games, maybe even on Switch, like strategies. Check them out. If you Google
Yeah.
Microprose now, they're actually back on the scene. They're making lots of like World War II military games, strategy games. They've got a thing going on. If Steam, especially,
Mm,
you'd be up to nuts and guts on there, fella.
wow. Right. I better do my fourth choice after that. Um, my fourth choice is not the best segue into a game, but my fourth choice is Tony Hawk's Pro
Oh,
Skater 2.
I don't know. There's the inverted floss 360 that cuts very close.
Not
Cuts
on this
very
show.
close.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I've picked this one up basically
Oh.
because of.
Can I just say, I know you're in the flow, but every time you've held a game up on camera, does mine look as good? Because it looks brand
Yeah.
new to me what you hold up there.
No, this one's a bit rough. The others are quite
I
really
know, but
good
it
condition.
doesn't matter if you just hold that up.
I still got 29.99 on WH
WH
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater
Let
2.
me see it again. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to see it.
Yeah, this is not great for the audio
No, I
listeners.
know, and no, not that. The whole thing. Yeah, well, that looks great. Forgot how
It's
fresh it was.
oh, it's and I've picked two basically because of when the manual was added in. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 was just the pinnacle. It was the new skateboarding game. I know
So good.
people forget. I believe it was Rockstar done Thrasher,
They
which was
did.
more simulated. It was tough.
Did they do that?
Yeah, I believe that was Rockstar. Quote
I
me if I'm
remember
wrong.
Thrasher kicking right. Yeah, get message in, comment
Yeah,
below, please do.
comment below, but I'm sure that was Rockstar. And that was more of almost a sim. You had to really learn your tricks, and then you'd have a security guard chase you, take you out, game over, start again.
Mm,
So they, you know, Activision and Neversoft come in with something more arcadey. They come in so you can pull the tricks off, but like your Wipeouts and even Gran Turismo to a certain degree, they had the music there. They had the hits.
mm,
You know, the PS1 versions are the ones for me because of the soundtracks. You get a bit more of just a loop on the N64 because of the cartridge memory. But great tracks, introduced me to a load of bands. we still now and again, if me and my mate hear one of those songs, we're like, oh, Tony Hawk's, because it's just related to it. But Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, because of the manual. Now, you didn't have a manual in Pro Skater 1. You had to bust your tricks in one go, and that was it. With the manual added in, linking your tricks, then you could get your combos. So as you come off a ramp, quickly up and down on the D-pad to land in a manual, and then you could carry on, ollie onto another ramp and get them going. And that changed the whole way you played the game. Um, and again, it was just it was pretty much rinse repeat from the first one, but it was just that we would always try and max each level before we moved on. You'd unlock that level before you'd completed that first one, and we might just go and have a little look. Oh, this is in a school. This looks really good. But no, let's make sure we get all the skate symbols, get the video, get the high scores, the free high scores, and just that little scratching noise when you achieved an achievement in the game or found like the hidden one. Like for instance, in the first game, you'd grind across the helicopter blades and it would take off and go for the roof. Little hidden things like that. It was just so addictive. It was so playable. Like I say, it was arcadey, but that made it more approachable as a game rather than a sim game that you had to grind to try and get anything out of. And they just hit something with it. And I think Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, it was the one. Yes, we had 3 and 4, and people forget 4 was on the PS1 as well, even though it was more sort of pushed as a PS2 game. But yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is that perfection of the OG Tony Hawk's for me. What about you, George? Do you have much history with this game?
Second time round, absolutely. I also think I had it on Dreamcast, maybe. I had a guy got me a pirate. I don't even know how it worked. He just turned up with like a CD, said Tony Hawk's on it. And I was like, what's this? It's a Dreamcast. It's like, oh no, I don't know. Anyway, I got him and put it in. Fear of God in me. It was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 or 1, I can't remember. And that started my kind of love affair with it. I thought, wow, this is great. Later on, when I had a PS1 with a screen that I could take with me, I had 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
Um, 1, albeit, yeah, it doesn't have the manual, but 1 felt more kind of real and grounded in a way.
Mm.
It wasn't so much the grind the wires. 2 definitely was heading towards that
Mm.
direction a lot
Oh yeah,
more.
definitely.
And I think the manual allowed that to happen, which is why it existed probably in that game because it allowed a little bit more freedom of movement, did it not? So that
Yeah.
allowed you to manipulate the level in a lot more
Oh,
ways than you could possibly imagine.
you just brought back a memory there because me and my mate would play this, and I'd come back from work, he'd be on his lunch break. So, you see this videotape up there? How the hell are we meant to get that? How do you get that videotape? I'd go back to work, come back, got it right here. Here's a controller. Right, go along there, grind that bit, grind up there, ollie over the gap. There's the wire. Get right, and you had to work it out how you got
Mm.
up there by keep rerunning the level, And they were so quick levels, 2 or 3 minutes, whatever they were, to try and get you. So it kept the play going, kept the flow going. Just yeah, great fun games. Definitely great fun games.
I don't know how much they are. I'm probably 1 and 2 have probably spiked a little bit, but I think if you're in the scene for collecting for the PS1, you probably need 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
The you know they're a great set of games to have. I've probably just blown 100 quid, but you know I think they're fantastic games. At the time, they're as good as it got for skateboard simulators and sports games.
Mm.
And again, RGT, the start of pretty dominating franchise, to be honest with you,
Oh
that
God, yeah,
spawned then
yeah,
a myriad of other games in and around it. So
yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Not only Spider-Man, but I think Hoffman's ran on this. And then obviously once they segued
yeah.
into other stuff, it just lit up with
The,
copies and
yeah.
clones and similars. So
And I
yeah,
mean, not only
absolutely.
that, if you were a skater as well, if you were really into your skating like my mate was, I mean, you had Bob Bergquist, Steve Caballero, which is his favourite skater, and you had at the time the more modern skaters like Cream Campbell was coming in, Eric Coston, Ruth Gilfberg. You had Tony Hawk, Bucky Lazick, Rodney Mullen. You had all the names in this game. They had, and if you were into your skating, you were like, oh no way, even Jeff Rowley's in it. Do you know what I mean? They had everyone there, so you could even do your own character or just go with. I mean, they even had British skaters, I think, like Jamie Thomas and that in there. And it was just, Yeah, it sung to people who weren't really into skating because they made a really playable game of it, but it sung to the skateboarders as well because you could pick your deck and the way you dressed, and it was all of the time and the soundtracks. Metacritic rated it highly. I think the worst rated one was the N64, but that got 84 out of 100, so you can tell you how good the game is. The highest rated one is the PlayStation version, which is 98 out of 100. But Dreamcast got 97, and
Mm,
the last time I played through Tony Hawk's, which was 2 or 3 years ago, I played the Dreamcast version,
it
and
looks
that
good on there,
it
doesn't it?
looks very good on there. You know, you can see the power under the hood of the Dreamcast, smoothing that all out.
Yeah,
Frame rate,
yeah.
really good on a Dreamcast.
Everything feels very solid in the Dreamcast version.
Yeah.
In the PlayStation version, as good as it is, as original as it is, the place where you probably all played it, it's a bit of a warpy mess.
Mm.
It's as soon as you load that up on Dreamcast, it's a totally
It's
different
almost like a
story.
remaster of it. It feels like a
It
remaster.
literally is, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
it's
is for the longest
very good.
time was the best place to play it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a great version on there. Even the PC version got 91 out of 100. So yeah, all the magazines rated it. EGM was 9 out of 10, Eurogamer 9 out of 10, list goes on. 5 out of 5 for Game Revolution. GameSpot was 9.9 out of 10 for Dreamcast and PS version. So yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, definitely check that out if you want that sort of X Games sports hit on your PlayStation. Um, what's your fifth and final game then, George? Your must-have for any new collector?
Resident
Mm.
Evil.
Pity
A
we're not on.
game
I was getting about to do the zombie turn.
Ugh. Very similar to your normal one.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm a dirty dog. Listen, I had Resident Evil the first time round, and during my first incarnation of PlayStation ownership, this was a game that I was a little bit scared of, but finished. I absolutely loved it. It was so new to me. The idea, the style, the enemies, the story. I'd never played anything like this before in my life. And I remember my dad coming in and watching it, like, this is something else. And I was like, yeah, this is something else. The the gameplay now, yeah, people say our tank controls. I'm kind of touched on it a couple of weeks ago on Flashback, I think. There is no other way to play these games, so we didn't even think about it.
No, you just played it. Oh,
It
that's
was
how
the
you.
control of the game.
Yeah,
And I'll
there,
be
there, there
honest with
wasn't
you.
no sort of at the time. There wasn't no
Well, there
generic
weren't.
way to play a game. You just
Well,
played how the game told you to play. Then.
exactly. And the one thing, the one reason why this is the way it is because the analog controller didn't exist.
Hmm.
So it had to be this way.
Hmm.
Um, all that aside, the game's an absolute joy. It still unfolds really well now. Probably feels a little bit cliched. Obviously, this got remade on GameCube and that then got ported to everything else in the Resident Evil Origins collection, which you could even pick up on Switch. But the original one, much like Final Fantasy VII for me, has got like it's got a style, it's got an ethos. In a way, the graphical style and everything all plays into the feel of the game. Yes, it's got pre-rendered backgrounds. Yes, you've got 3D sprite work moving on top of that with your characters, the weapons, and the enemies, but it doesn't matter one jot. The game feels absolutely beautiful to play. It can be a little bit hard at times, like the first time I played it, like the first save room feels like a country mile away. Right, so you're playing this thing for what feels like days before you get there. And when you do the sanctuary, the save room, the typewriter, and everything, it's just like, oh my God. And everything in that room feels the design of Resident Evil itself, everything in that room feels very safe. Everything is calm. You could have just gone, you could have been being chased by God knows what the hell it is. And you get in there and shut the door, and it's like, oh, now I can think, now I can breathe. Okay. Let's do some inventory management. Oh, bloody hell, I left a herb in here. Great, that can go in. I'll eat that. Should have saved it for the red. I'm not thinking straight and panicking. Let's calm down. Resident Evil was a game that it was a game before like the internet really. So, as a gamer at the time, you really did feel like you were kind of working these things out for yourself. It really gave you that genius moment of combining the items in the inventory and
Mm,
making the red and green herbs together to make the paste. And hang on a minute, that's healing me loads more. Oh, hang on a minute, this is incredible. And as you slowly start to piece together the game, um, you start realizing that using the gun all the time is a little bit foolhardy. If they're just like smaller enemies, knife and run, and then you slowly start to piece it together. I mean, if you're managing in all this on one playthrough like I did the first time, obviously you're still a little bit low on health because you don't really know what you're doing.
mm,
There's a lot of discovery and mistakes to make to go back. But again, if you are, I mean, it's a bit like RGT turning up with Final Fantasy VII. What can I really tell you about Resident Evil, even as a non-gamer coming in now? You're going to be like, George, you're telling me things we know. I know that. But basically, if you're collecting for the PS1, I'd like to think that the vanilla version, which this is, isn't too costly. Again, I'm a little bit nervous that Transport Tycoon and Resident Evil might have blown the doors off of a cheap pickups for the PS1 that are going to give you a good return on the mileage. But I'd like to think it'd be reasonably priced because it was pretty well mass produced. But a wonderful game. Again, if you've never played it and you're thinking of collecting for the PS1, I'm a bit loath to kind of go too into the story, but you're part of a stars team that's kind of been sent to investigate some bits and bobs, and from there it kind of goes a bit south, and you lose some people, and some people disappear, and you run into a mansion for a little bit of relief from the carnage outside, and the story unfolds from there. And what a wonderful, interesting story it is. There'd been nothing else like that at this time. Capcom really smashed it out the gates. There's there's jump scares, but I think also the wider kind of barrenness of the mansion and the crudity of it, again, to use that word on the PlayStation original version, it just all blends into that ambiance RGT. I love myself a little bit of OG Resident Evil. I
mm,
do prefer this version more probably than the remake.
mm. Yeah, I think for me, my history with it, I think it's another one of them that made the PlayStation iconic. It was another one of them
100%.
games that had never been done. They started a whole, were they the first ones? Don't know, but the word or
There
words
was
of survival
this is a
horror.
spiritual sequel to a Super Nintendo game, but I tell you what, it bears no real resemblance to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So it was probably one of the first of this genre, which is now widespread, and we all know the game design is absolutely superb in this game. Till how they, even though they have to break the action with the doors opening, they
Mm.
use the creaky doors to keep you suspended while they load the game in the background. So to give you that little weight, and you think, "Oh, what's through here?" And they go, "Arr."
And you
It's
never, I think that that part of Resident Evil is kind of missing to this day in the
yeah,
modern ones because that, I know they'll be like, oh, yeah, but George, that's boring. Yeah, it is. But the storytelling way of that, where you didn't know, as you say, what you were walking into, it was either more terror or maybe it was just 2 seconds of relief.
yeah, and there's certain times when you backtrack. Now that first time you head through an area, then you realise you've got to backtrack. Once you've done it two or three times, you'll know where they are, the ones you can dodge. Don't waste your ammo. Get through them. Get to that door.
Up on the top
Yeah,
stairwell,
yeah.
yeah.
And while I'm there, I'll quickly save it in this room. Do that. Blah blah blah. Then head back just in case anything out. And you end up getting your own strategy, and you can work the game out. It's an iconic game. Like I say, start of a genre. Um, so well done as well, because like I always have, a lot of games, even from older games, is equal to the game design, the graphics, is the atmosphere that a game sets.
Absolutely.
And this game sets that with the noises, the zombie noises, the guns, the the almost feeling of, you know, this is so overwhelming. How are we going to get through it? But you keep pushing on.
That was the terror for me when I first played it. It wasn't necessarily the gore not bothered, the graphics of the zombies not bothered. It was that overarching terror because you're always a little bit low on health when you play it the first time. Always.
Yeah,
You're always up against it with the save ink ribbons. You're always up against it with ammo because you've gone crazy with the shooting because when you first start playing, it's actually quite hard to line the gun up in the 3D space with the zombie and nail it in the
Yeah,
head.
yeah,
So you're like, pow, pow, and you're in a panic normally. They're like really close to you because you're playing it for the first time. Like, pow, you're shooting all around them like one of those comedies where they've got bullets the shape of a zombie on the wall and the zombie's just walking towards you. Yeah, mate, brilliant game.
yeah. Absolutely superb. And it's even like, yes, there's the FMV and the bad acting at the start as well as voice, but it makes the game. It sets the atmosphere when you first go in the mansion and how empty and echoey that mansion is, and you're just
Yeah.
thinking, and it sets that whole story up for you to push on, and it is a great game. Um, and like I say, it was an absolute well, it is an absolute buster of a game for game Capcom. Absolutely
100%.
brilliant, and I can't think of a better one to add. And just for a different genre again, we've done different genres. To have
Yeah.
the daddy of the survival
I
horror is
I I still prefer this one to two and three because it's more slow, it's more methodical. The sections in two where you're under pressure a lot, the sections in three where you just never know
with
quite what
Nemesis.
the
Oof,
yeah,
yeah,
you
keep
never quite
chasing you.
know what the hell is going to happen, and there's elements of that in two, don't get me wrong, but in one it's a more kind of puzzly style. It's got. I tell you what. No, we do a disservice to Alone in the Dark, which was also
Yeah,
released.
yeah,
Maybe one or two was released. They were PC releases, but one or two of them made their way, and maybe even one of the later remasters or remakes made itself. It did made itself to PlayStation One, but for me, that first Resident Evil, it captures the magic of Alone in the Dark and then
yeah.
made it Hollywood.
Yeah, and it actually brought a lot of people over to gaming who were just horror movie buffs,
Yes.
who had never really played a game, and suddenly you had horror movies as games, and it just got absolutely rave reviews. People absolutely loved it, smashed it out of the park. Brilliant, brilliant game, but definitely check it out because yes, you have got the polygons and the tank controls, but it stood the test of time just for what it is and what it
Well,
done.
that's part of the difficulty of playing it.
Yeah,
So that's part of the challenge. So
yeah,
that's the way
exactly.
you
Yeah,
play it. That's the
yeah,
way we played it. That's the way I implore you to play it. Within 30 minutes, you won't be thinking about it. You'll just be legging it from zombies and freaking out you
yeah.
ain't got enough green herb. Just let yourself go and enjoy it,
Yeah,
baby.
exactly. Yeah, definitely. Great choice as a final one for you, George. Great choice. Right, we'll get on to my final choice.
I'm buzzing for this one, RGT. I can't wait.
And this, I've gone a bit left field with this. And this game is Wing Commander 4. Um, I've gone for this because everyone looks back now. I know they've tried to sort of reinvent the FMV a bit
Hold it
nowadays,
up.
but yeah.
Hold
Oh,
it up.
so there we go.
Oh, mate, that looks so good still to this day.
Oh,
Double box as well.
that movie-esque front with
Looks
Mark Hamill
fantastic.
on and can't think of mate's name. What was it?
Malcolm McDowell,
Malcolm McDowell. That's it. Um,
token English bad guy, crazy dude.
yes. This Wing Commander 4 is like the first one that had come to consoles. Well, not necessarily. I know you had a Wing Commander on the Super Nintendo, but first ones of these newer consoles, this FMV. Um, I know FMV, everyone looks back and laughs now, but I think this is one of the games where the FMV really works in this game. Um, and if you listen to this, don't know what FMV is, it's full motion video. So they would put real movie clips in of actors acting out scenes in between your gameplay, your cutscenes, so to speak, which gave it more of that movie edge, blending movies and games. Now, Wing Commander 4 had a great list of stars in it, and they went big budget to, get these stars in, get that movie feel, and it is like a space or opera. So you had like Mark Hamill, you had Malcolm McDowell, you had Jason Bernard, you had Tom Wilson. List goes on. Loads of people in it, and good actors as well. They act well in the scenes. There's the odd sort of smaller actor in there, which is a little bit cheesy, but it makes the game for me. And I just love that where game where you come back to your home base ship, and then while you're there you can navigate through that ship to go to the comms room or the navigation room or your dorm room, and then you can go and pick your mission. Then they'll add your cutscene in when they're like, chatting about the mission. You'll go and right do this, and then when you're in the mission, they're talking on the radios to each other. Um, and it really is a great, like I say, a great way to play an FMV game. It really works because obviously Mark Hamill, Malcolm McDowell, they're all great actors. They carry it off really well. It's not too cheesy. It's got a good underlying story. And not only that, you feel involved in it. You feel involved in this movie. And I don't think people talk about Wing Commander enough. I know people just sort of look back and think, oh, FMV, get rid. And even like your last game, Resident Evil, with the FMV at the start of that, people look back now and they laugh at the acting and the bits and pieces, but that made that game because you played that. You were then in that movie and you played it and you felt the horror of it. And this is the same. And yes, it had a massive budget. Yes, it's a bit, in a way, it feels not disjointed, but in a way, it's a bit funny because they'll finish their lines and then that'll load your bit up, and then you go into your game. But for me, it's all a charm of it. I love it. It is like a space opera. It is a movie, and if you like your shooters, a lot I said about Colony Wars, this one has that added FMV, it has that added movie, TV show sort of base to it. And I suppose at the time, we had lots of like Babylon 5 and bits and pieces like this. So that was, if you're a gamer and you're a fans of them and Star Trek, this is what you sort of had to play. So yeah, Wing Commander for the price of freedom. Have you played this, George?
Yeah, I've played a lot of the Wing Commander games. Um, I think just to touch on a few things you said, the to me, whenever I saw this, there was a lot of hullabub about when it was while it was being made. It always ended up featured on TV, on things like movies, games, and videos because it made for good TV watching. All these big stars sat around a set talking about this game or acting in this, filming the acting section of this game. So it always felt when it was advertised or shown or anything, it always felt very Hollywood. It had that kind of big project game feel about it because of the actors attached to it. But to segue into that, that doesn't in any way take away from the gameplay. The Wing Commander series always had a great gameplay engine, even going back to the home computing days. And that's why this is nice to see this on PlayStation in the early era, only because the Wing Commander game is very much associated with home computing. Yes, previously it saw ports to the SNES that were received very well. And I think I've got a copy on a PSP bundle of an EA pack somewhere of the first one that you can play. And, there's nothing wrong with Wing Commander. And it always had its sights set on telling a cinematic story,
Mm,
originally through graphical and pictorial form, but then latterly, with the Hollywood cast and the guy dressed up as a cat, and then following on with Malcolm McDowell as this one is, and or maybe it's the other way around, I don't know, but everything about this, and as you touched on, the cast, they were at the time a video game actor and a Hollywood movie actor. There was a massive groundswell of difference between the two. Resi went down the route of using more sort of no-name guys just to sort of scratch a video together for a cheap FMV. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Wing Commander 4, where they've blown everything, including the kitchen sink, at the cinematic experience. But within that, there are those kind of role building, role playing scenarios as well. So it adds to the gravitas of the world when you're getting your briefings, but then it also adds to that feeling of your colleague out there in the ship because you've got this kind of bond with your co-pilot.
mm,
There's something special about the Wing Commander series that I would quite like to see them go back to because imagine what they could do now. But yeah, mate, I've got this game. I've
mm,
got I think another one on PlayStation 1 maybe. I can't remember, but yeah, I had a lot of time for this. Obviously,
mm.
for me, a Star Wars kid, Mark Hamill getting attached to anything means I'm
Yeah,
probably going to watch it. I even watched Slipstream for God's sake, so I was always going to hunt this down.
yeah. And like you
Um,
say, with Resi One, the FMBs just start. They could get away with that. In this game, you probably wouldn't. There's a
no,
lot of cutscenes, a lot of acting there. So they went all in, and they even went all in on the sets. And the sets because of these good actors or fantastic actors in here and these sets, you really feel part of it when you're going out on your mission.
100%.
And then they're chatting away while you're playing the game, and yeah, it's really good. I know it was a bit at the time, people all thought sort of 50, 60%. But later on, after people had actually properly played it, I mean, it was getting 7.5 out of 10 on EGM, Game Informer. GameSpot was given it 8.5 out of 10.
Mm.
So it was getting the scores for just being something different, I suppose, and really
We,
utilising the
we
FMB in a proper way.
the weird thing is a score of 7 or 8 in that day didn't always guarantee a must buy. It
Mm,
had to be a 9. Had
hmm
to be a 9. In a
hmm
way, like today, I think we've softened where we'll give a 7 a go.
mm,
But I think Wing Commander 4 kind of got a little bit boxed in there with those reviews. And I
yeah.
think the wider audience would have actually liked it. And I think the critical response probably kept it a bit suppressed. A
Mm.
great game.
Yeah,
Great game.
yeah, really good. Like I say, if you like them sort of spacey games, if you like your space TV shows, like I say, Babylon 5 and Star Trek and stuff, this is that sort of almost gamey version you can get involved with, and with decent FMV and decent actors. So yeah, definitely give Wing Commander 4 a try. I'd definitely recommend it. I think it's a great game. Um, well, out of those 10, I mean, hopefully we've probably had some obvious ones, but we've also chucked a few curveballs in with like Wing Commander 4, with Transport Tycoon, and ones that you probably heard of, like Die Hard Trilogy and Colony Wars, but never thought of actually trying them. You've heard of the games, give them a go. They come recommended by us on Flashback here. Um, yes, I'll quickly go before we get onto our housekeeping. I will quickly jump on with some prices here for you,
Mm.
just rough prices, what they're going for at the moment. They've gone up a lot since we bought them. As we've always said, that generation is now the people who got the disposable income. People who had this, you know, console, or this generation as a young kid who grew up with it, is now starting to get into the collecting for these. So they are creeping up, the PlayStations.
Oh,
Um, Wipeout, I'll start with the first one. Wipeout,
yeah.
that goes for about £15 nowadays.
Really?
Yeah, 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 yeah. With a manual, £15. These are basically rough. These are between eBay and CEX prices. Colony Wars, you can still pick up a decent copy of that for a fiver.
Good,
Five
good,
pound.
good, good.
Um, Die Hard Trilogy, depending on where you buy it, £5 to £10. I think you get a real decent copy for about £8.
Fantastic. Good price.
Driver, decent copy, £8, but you probably pick it up for a fiver, I
Yeah,
expect.
that's
Gra-
fair.
Gran Turismo, decent copies about a tenner.
Is that one or two?
Gran Turismo 2, sorry, is a tenner. You can pick up for a real good copy, but if you keep your eyes out on eBay, you might be able to, because they're always on there. You might be able to pick it up a bit of a bargain cheaper than that. Final Fantasy VII, that averages about £25 for that, but I
It's not
paid
really moved for the last 20
no.
years, has
That's what I
it?
was then saying. I paid £25 for this about 7, 8 years ago, so it's around that price.
It was 15 for the longest time from
It
like
was, yeah.
2005
Used
to
to always see it 15.
2019, wasn't it?
Yeah,
15, 15, 15. That's the price point. Gotta buy it off him for 7.5, put it up for 15, boom.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So
now it's 25.
yeah, and
Well,
it
who's
just
having the last laugh now, pal? Huh?
yeah. Transport Tycoon,
Mm, 15 quid.
£15 on the button, mate. Yeah, £15 for a decent copy of that.
It's hard to find. I had to get mine from France.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, I
You
think
won't find many of them on the open market.
no, I think this was eBay price. I didn't think they had it on CX if I remember rightly. Comment
That's
down
mine.
below if I'm wrong, but
That's mine.
oh, yeah. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 surprised me. I think this has ballooned a bit since the remakes come out, 1 and 2 and 3
15.
and 4. About £18 for a
Ooh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
tasty.
so yeah, that surprised me that. Resident Evil.
Box complete with manual. There's my manual. There's quite a few different versions of this artwork, though. I tracked down the one I physically remember from my youth, but I'm not convinced that there's many, many different shapes and also many different box case variants of Resident Evil. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna say you walk into a shop, you pay 20 quid for that today.
Current price for that is £40.
Jesus.
I reckon if you shop around or go in, I think if you go into a decent independent retro game store, you'd probably pick it up for about 30, 35. But go and rate is about 40 boxed and complete on that. Um, yeah, I've got
Dude.
that artwork as well, your one. I've also got the director's cut one. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
more expensive or what, I don't
I
know.
think that is more, but I've
Yeah,
never really seen the point because it doesn't really change that much.
it actually makes it a bit easier, I think.
I think it
Like,
gives you analog controls over
yeah,
gives you analog control over your character, but like that's any good to you.
a lot of people like the N64 one because you can actually turn the tank controls off and just has it as a, I think it's the only version that does that, I think, doesn't
On
it? But
on two.
oh, is that two? Is it not
They
one?
only got two, I think.
Yeah. Oh, because they did. Yeah. And finally, Wing Commander 4.
Yeah.
And that's going for about £25, 20, £25, which surprised
Yeah,
me as well.
not really. I can't imagine it ever had a massive print run. So I guess if you're trying to track these games down, it just pushes the price up a little bit. It's a multi-discer as well, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why it's in that double box.
Yeah, the old double jewel case.
I, yeah, I mean, if you want it, and I guess you really want it in this day and age, I guess you'll pay that price.
Yeah, and I think apart from a couple there, which are sort of 20 and up to about 40, there's some good prices there for games that are really enjoyable, really playable for the era, iconic some of them for the
My,
era.
my standout for mine for bang for buck there is Die Hard Trilogy at that rate.
Yeah, yeah, mine's Colony Wars for £5. I mean,
Unbelievable.
I still don't. And the weird thing is, if you go on Reddit or anywhere like that and say what are the best space simulation games, Colony Wars is in that top five every single time. Yet it doesn't seem to get the love it deserves, I suppose, or
Hmm.
even the price. But yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed another one of our. We're trying to do these every 10 shows, so hope you enjoyed our sort of recommendations for a new original PlayStation collector, five each from us. Like I say, they might not be your choices, but even so, there might be ones you want to check out if that's the case.
I mean, we could have just gone on Metacritic reverse and turned up with those games, but you don't
Yeah,
want that from us. You could do
no,
that yourself.
no, exactly. Not everyone's saying go and buy Wing Commander 4 or Transport Tycoon. Now we're telling
100%.
you, now go and give them a try. And also, it gives us a scope because we can repeat these and pick another 10 as we go in different
Dude, I
shows down the
turned
line.
up nervous about my top five and turned up with another one, two, three, four, five, six, seven games that, probably range from a 15 quid to one, you
Yeah.
know,
And I
and
mean,
a blast.
I think I've got like about 170, PS1 games, and I could have literally just took a wedge off the shelf and recommended them because I've always tried to buy the ones I really enjoy and ones that are great, and I couldn't recommend them enough. So yeah, some great ones there, and scope to do future shows, as we said with the other ones. Um, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Check out UCP, Unofficial Controller Podcast, the mothership of this show. Over 300 episodes, been going 8, 9 years now. Various
Wow.
hosts, great show. Go and check us out on there. Give us a like, give us a sub if you're on YouTube. You can
That
watch
would be kind. That would be super kind and
yeah, give us a
generous.
sub on there because if you sub to our YouTube, you'll get UCP, you'll get the audio and the videos, but also you'll get flashback audio as well. So you can listen to us on there. Loads of shows and back catalogues to go through. Check out our website, unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com. There's flashback on there. There is, like I say every week, there's challenge accepted. There's all about a Discord. There's hidden gems. There's various different pages. Captain, our design guru, has done all that. It looks absolutely fantastic. Go and check that out. If you've got any questions about Flashback or Unofficial Controller Podcast or about George or about me, questions at unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com. So give us a shout on there. If you want to contact us by your podcast supplier, there is a little bit on there that says contact the show. You can leave us a little comment and we'll read it out in the show. Leave us your name and we can have a chat about that on air. Discord, Unofficial Controller Podcast Discord. Go and jump on there. Like I say, that's where the challenge accepted happens. That's where the hidden gems are. That's where the Let's Get Quizzical is on there. Go and see all the other gamers. Have a chat. Very friendly little hub for everyone. We're on TikTok. We're on Insta. We're on X. And I think I've just about covered all that, haven't I, George? Is there anything I've missed out on there? I don't think so.
No, you've covered every single pantheon of social experience they could possibly ever have.
And all I'd say is if you want an easy way to get onto the Discord, jump on the Instagram site of the Unofficial Toilet Podcast, check out the link tree and join from there. Or you can check out me on Instagram at Retro Gamer Thomas. Check my link tree out, and there is a link straight to our
You've got a
Discord.
link tree.
Oh, yeah, because I am big time, baby.
No,
Definitely not.
you are. No, you've
Definitely
got a
not.
link tree.
So are you.
I haven't.
Well,
Personally, I don't have one.
wow, you've sort of got one. You made the one for the show because you are, if they cut your arm, as UCP bleeds out. So,
Bit of flashy B as well, though. Look at me.
yeah, a little bit of flashy B. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks again, George, for joining me.
My
Thanks for your
pleasure. Love
wonderful
these.
5 games, as always. Yes, I do get a lot of comments from people saying, "Oh, when are you doing another one? When are you doing another top 10?" I was like, "Well, we'll try and do them every 10 shows." But
I don't
there's,
think your mum liked top tens.
oh, she loves them. Right. Yeah.
Cool.
Ever since Toppler Pops went, this is her the best top 10 she
I
could
tell
have.
you what, Flashback services her countdown requirements very well because if we don't have a countdown on an episode of Flashback or a countdown here, I think we're doing something wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Give us a sub on YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a listen. Recommend to all your gaming friends. And just leaves me to say, flashback, the games you loved, the stories you forgot. Thank you, George. I'll see you next week. And thanks, everyone, for listening.
See you guys.
Fly